Hello, James here, and welcome to the James Cast. So, what are you going to be listening to? It's PowerWorks time, and that means I'm talking with Glenn Power about cars. We had a great conversation about, well, a helicopter car, actually. 1921 Layette Helica, one of 30 that were made by Marcel Layette. Yeah, it pretty much was a helicopter, but a car. Kind of makes you think what's going on in France, right? Renault making Nissan Micras. Okay, you can see where the conversation's going. It's always a lot of fun. Glenn Power and myself talking cars. At least one of us knows something about cars. Here we go. It's the James Cast, and we're talking cars with Glenn Power.
I actually did, Andrew and I, 7:10 in the morning, podcasting.
Nice.
I know. I'm going, he's not a morning guy. And he goes, can we do 7? I'm going, what? I said, well, we can do 7:10 because my wife leaves at 7:10. So, we have breakfast and then, open the gate, get her out and this and that. And I thought 7:10 is possible because it's like I could do 7, but
Tech talk from the bed.
Pretty much. Well, he's a night owl. So how's he doing 7 in the morning? But I've never seen him more wide awake. So it was
maybe
awesome.
Just coming home.
Yeah, for sure. That's probably it. Oh man. Everything else otherwise rocking. How's DJ doing?
Settling in, yeah.
Yeah, it's DJ, right?
Yeah, settling in. We got
it's a big learning curve coming from the UK, coming from working as he was, and now he's PowerWorks.
Yeah,
and
the thing is as well, like I did exactly the same.
Yeah, it's a mind bender.
But I did it into an established business where I had lots of people to fall back on, and he's come to we're a startup.
Yeah,
right?
you're a startup. Yeah.
So
fall back on him.
Yeah, there's only me to fall onto, and
you're tall and lanky, so there's a lot of room to fall beside.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the everything else falling on me at the minute. Yeah.
Oh man, we could do that whole show on startup and things to keep in mind. I've done one of those with Colin at one point. We probably need to do a couple of them because they'll be great records for later down the road. And just like, okay, at this moment, this is what's going on in my mind.
I was thinking about, because you do. That's one of the things about all the stuff we've done, right? You can look back on it all.
Yeah.
And say, oh, yeah, I remember I used to think like that.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And on that note, here we go. Podaholiks time and PowerWorks, Glenn Power, PowerWorks Automotive, coming to you from the podcast suite at the Rove Hotel downtown. We got an hour of automotive power.
Nice.
You like that? PowerWorks, hour of automotive power.
I like it.
It's the power hour.
Yeah.
I know there's something else that's the power hour, but really, we could just call this the power hour.
That's my name.
Yeah.
That's my name.
It totally works.
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, I'm liking it already.
Power drained already.
Power drained. I mean, we got lots to talk about, and it's funny how shows just kind of wind into each other. You and Joey Woo Woo seem to have a back and forth going. I'm the intermediary, which is classic.
It's getting very. It's like WWE now. Sorry, promos back and forth.
And if you just kind of catching into this and going, Joey Woo Woo, hold on, I haven't been listening to the PowerWorks and what's going on here. So Joey Woo Woo being my brother, who goes by the name Joey Woo Woo because he does a woo woo all the time. And I think he puts those on the back, right? Because he does them all the time. And Joey as in Joey from Friends, I think it kind of built out of that. Not that he is the Joey from Friends, but I guess he could be confused for Joey. And so the sort of the connection is you and Joey, both mechanics.
Yeah.
And have a love for automobiles and just repairing stuff. And I'm sure anything with a motor, what did he send me the other day? He was swapping out, sent me some video. Oh yeah, I swapped the motor of that lawnmower onto that lawnmower and this. And then, it's like, oh yeah, I got to do something else here too. And it was, but we've had the ongoing conversation about chrome And you sent me a wonderful video of, I can only assume that was one of Colin's new acquisitions.
No, it wasn't. No.
Oh, no. Okay.
Although he did actually talk about maybe buying it when it's finished.
So this was a Range Rover.
Yeah.
And I don't know what year that was, but
88.
Oh man, classic. In fact, I remember Dave Walker, when I first moved here, that was in 2000, he must have been driving around in that vintage or there, because it had the same door handles and stuff. So I don't know when they stopped making them like that. And that
93, I think.
Okay, so he was driving something that was pretty old, and this was in 2000, and that was what a brilliant vehicle, except that it's got these chrome door handles that burn your hands in this environment every time you put your finger in to pull it,
and they're super stiff.
So
it's not like you can just flick them. So I mean, I flicked it, burnt my fingers, and the door was still not open.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to go get gloves.
Got to do the whole full range of motion to get the latch to roll off.
So you really burn the ends of your fingers, and so you sent me that. I send that off to Joey Woo Woo. He responds, and then he sends another one back. He's out camping with his buddy who's owns a haulage company. So a haulage company in North America is trucks and rigs and 18-wheelers, and he's showing you his Dodge Ram, which is completely chrome. From chrome grill, chrome bumper. It's Chrome Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I now have to maintain. No matter what happens to me in the next 25, 30 years, I have to now maintain that I hate chrome on cars.
And it's funny because these podcasts will hold you to it. And this is an interesting one that I'm now searching for in post-podcast, nothing to do with our show, but has to do with Get Fit Radio with Marcus Smith. Love the guy. I actually haven't been to his new studio. He's got a new studio up close to your place, up in Studio City. He's got a whole new Inner Fight building.
Oh, cool.
Restaurant in it. Well, the Smith Street Paleo is in there, and awesome. Yoga studio and the whole bit. And yoga studio is the key word, because I remember doing podcasts with him when we talked about yoga. And I don't think he had anything good to say about yoga.
Yeah.
He was less than complimentary about yoga.
You got to pay for the building.
And now he's got a yoga studio in his building.
People will pay for yoga.
I'm one of them. It's a little bit of yin yoga with a sound bath. Man, I'm into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking for that podcast. The point being, podcasts live on. So now forever. You can never like chrome now.
Yeah, I can never ever like chrome, even when I get to being like 50.
Yeah, no,
I'm screwed. Which is not a problem for me, because it's an absolute danger to society. Chrome burns you when you touch it, blinds you when you're driving behind it.
Yeah,
it's just, and then you've got to keep it clean.
Yeah, that's the killer. And I always wonder about these guys in winter. Snow, sleet, ice, salt that's been put on the road. It's slushy. That chrome is just getting shattered.
Yeah, the good sort of, the argument for chrome is always, oh well, it's better than these plastic bumpers you get now. Well, okay, we'll make it out of steel. Don't make it, paint it. Don't make it shiny, please.
What's coming into the garage these days? What do you got going on?
We've got a really nice Type 2 combi van, pickup, 2-door pickup, so single cab. That's really cool. It's a 74 from Brazil.
Wow.
That's just an engine regasket, basically. It's starting to leak oil, which isn't a massive issue on an air-cooled engine. They all kind of
leak oil,
weep a little bit from time to time. But that's going to be a fun project for the next 5-6 days once the parts arrive.
Hard to find parts?
No, really easy. Okay. No, really easy. You can even get original parts. I mean, there's no difficulty in getting parts for those. They still make them out of the heritage and the classic parts division. So yeah, really easy to get, and can't get them locally. There's a few on the Porsche side. You can get some of the classic parts from them locally, but never ever have any joy with the VW.
Are you finding it a little more challenging because of sort of reduced air traffic these days with getting parts in that you're ordering from overseas as fast as you would like?
We have a slowdown in the country. As in, anything within the country is taking a bit longer, but getting it in here is not the problem.
Oh, okay.
I think air traffic is now trying to fill space up with freight.
Maybe, okay.
Air freight has definitely gone down in price,
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
So it's definitely gone down in price. So we've air freighted a few things recently, which have been 25-30% of the cost of what we would have paid maybe a year ago.
So not that there's an upside to COVID, but with reduced people flying, reduced luggage, the freight business, and, DHL and others, taking up the space.
Talk to pilots here, and they all say that they're flying freight. The 777s and the 380s as well being used for freight.
Wow.
Cargo. So
there we go. Well, that's neat.
Keeps them in the air.
Yeah, for sure. Are you finding increasingly, I mean, you got the bread and butter stuff that you're doing. We talked about distress purchases a little bit last week with batteries and tires. Yeah. Speaking of, I still got that tire I got to fix on the vehicle. It's been, a month now, right? And I'm almost at the point. I do check it every day to see how much air it's lost.
That's great.
When it gets down to 38, I make sure I go top it up.
We've got an accurate graph of
oh, yeah.
How are we plotting it?
Well, what I'm doing is I'm seeing, is it losing air faster?
Okay.
And so I do say every day I say, I got to get this fixed on the weekend. And it's not like I don't know where to go, because there is a place actually close to the house. I went to one and they said, yeah, we don't do what you need. You need a full plug in there, and you need to go here. And it's not like it's any different. I just need to take a left instead of a right. I probably do need to do that this weekend, because I mean, I'm rolling the dice every time the car gets driven. And it gets better, because I'm not driving the vehicle. My wife's driving the vehicle, so I'm rolling the dice for her.
Oh, no.
Which is okay, because you know who she's going to call if she has a problem. She's going to call you.
Yeah, which is fine. But then I'm hoping that you've told her there's a puncture in the tire.
I think she's aware. She's in the car when I keep filling it up.
Well, as we've said before, we'll get it done and make sure, because tires are very important.
Yeah, no, and it's this is the challenge, right? Because I'm just lazy. It's like, okay, and we're in an environment where the place, if I go to the shop that's close to me, which is legit, and I go there, they're I don't even think they're open in the morning. They're only open at night, like the afternoon, night. So I really have zero excuse for not doing this, except that I'm just lazy.
No comment. I mean,
it's like, yep.
If you, I mean, the difficulty is, and you've been in this situation before. It's where, like, even if you were to put your spare on, you've got to have the space. You've got to have the right tools. Just getting the wheel off safely on the side of the road where it's not level, and it's
pain in the rear end.
It's not easy, and it's still really hot out there.
Yeah.
We've lost the humidity.
You notice the windows are out in the yellow Jeep, though. You must have seen it when you came in.
Yeah, so
I think the roof's coming off this weekend. We've reached the threshold. It was only 37 today when I was driving here to the podcast studio. I'm going, that's the threshold.
The humidity's gone, so we're fine.
You put on the AC, you have your water beside you, and you have the AC going. Boom, roof's coming off this weekend. We're there.
Hey, who believes in global warming? Eh? Roof off, windows down, AC on. Yeah,
I know you're going
a bit for the planet.
You're
James.
going, you're really saving fuel. You're creating so much drag.
Yeah, look, if you're gonna go for it, you're gonna go for it. Yeah. The guy Stephen that you were talking to previously with his wife, who's the artist, singer, songwriter,
LaRuche.
That's it. Yeah. So he brought his Wrangler in.
In fact, it was funny because he was standing there and we were talking cars. He goes, I drive Wrangler too, and I've got to get some repairs. And I go, where are you getting that done? He goes, I don't know. And I said, I got the guy.
Yeah, so he called me and he dropped the car in, and it's like he's driving with the windows out, but that's because they're discoloured.
Worse than mine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He can't see.
He can't see anything through.
Oh, man, that's awful.
So that's like, I mean, we've had a couple of attempts in the past at doing something with those, and some people sell you the perspex, and they'll the plastic, they'll cut it out and stitch it in, but it's never great.
No.
So and
there's really nothing you can clean it. I almost thought, what if you used a muriatic acid that you use in pools and just sort of sat it on there? If that would, no, doesn't do it.
No, there's nothing you can do really. I mean, you can try polishing it as much as you want, but it's done, and it's the color has
it's gone brownish, right?
As well, So
I think I think in retrospect, and I think to every Jeep owner that I know, I would recommend, if you have a soft top, when you get that. And I'm at the point where I'll probably just going to head over to Sam at Trading Enterprises. Used to be at Rage. Now he's back at Trading Enterprises. And I'm just going to head over to Sam and say, look, I need, can you cut me a deal on a new soft top? And you can buy them. It's just a pain in the neck to put it on, but probably time to get one of those. And you're looking at 4,000 dirhams.
That's 3.5, I think. Yeah.
Which I think is a great investment, because then you can see. But once you do that, when you're not using the vehicle, you put a sunshade on it, put a cover on it.
You can get them made locally for about 2.5. Yeah. But to have the original one, obviously, is going to be
it fits. Fit. Yeah. And so that's where I'm kind of headed. But I think putting a cover on it when you're not driving it, I think it will prolong the life of that cover of that immensely. It just because it sits for so long, and it's just baking, like his would have been baking in the sun. Put a cover on it. Does get sunlight on it.
UV damages all the plastics, and it just starts to break them down, and they lose their colour, and they gain a horrible sort of cigarette smoke sort of stain, basically. So it's unfortunate, and it's just part of owning a car out here.
How's the rest of his car?
It's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a few things that need doing to it. It's not a new car, and he's got his problems, but we'll get there with it, and I'm sure he'll be happy. And the thing is, these days, I mean, what is it worth?
Well, that's it. I mean, I look at mine, and I kind of go, they're worth nothing. They're
especially today, right?
Yeah.
With like,
who's going to buy those? I mean, I live close enough. I'm out in Murdiff Way, and I drive by. If you go the back road, so that's the Academic City Road. One of the Emirates auction car parks is there. This thing is huge. It's full of cars. It's a call-in playground. And I'm thinking, if that thing is full of repos and whatever else is in there, what does anyone stand a chance if you put your ancient Wrangler up? Someone's gonna look at that. Yeah, I'll give you $2,000. It's like, well, I was hoping 5. Yeah, I'll give you a grand and a half now.
Yeah. A DJ actually offered 5. We had a guy come in that he basically buys and sells used car parts. So when we've changed engines, or when we've sometimes we take a car for scrap, for salvage, he'll come in and buy it. Yeah. And he was in the other day, and he said, I'll give 4,000 for the Wrangler, meaning Stevens. Yeah. So DJ was like, look, if he's going to give 4 for it, I'll give 5. Yeah. So I did call Stephen and say, look, mate, my colleague's offering 5k for the car if you're interested. He said no, obviously, and it is worth more than that. But unfortunately today, it's just the way it is. There's more people leaving and just quickly selling cars because they have to, because they need the money for the ticket, or they need money to pay their final dealer bill or whatever it may be. Yeah. So people are selling cars, and it's a buyer's market. It's a real tough time to sell a car.
Well, exactly. And then you just got to think, okay, I unload my car for $5,000, and then, well, I still need a car. Yeah. So what are you going to do? I've been looking around, and I always, I like to take a walk through the new car dealer and take a look at, some of the used stuff. And Imtishan would always say, it's like, what's the point of you doing that? Because you're not going to buy anything. You're going to sit there, you're going to sit down with the guy or the gal, you're going to have a haggle over it, and then you're going to walk away and say, I'm thinking about it, and you're going to never think about it again. Because you're going to look at your car and say, you know what? Glenn can keep it rolling.
He starts every day, gets me to work and back.
Yeah. Puts a smile on my face. That's it's
and you'd only end up buying a new Wrangler anyway.
Well, that's it. And so what's the point of going to look at everything else? Because I know I'm going to find. Or I did mention to the wife a GTI would be in the cards. I would be interested in a VW GTI.
Yeah, you could get a GTI at a decent price if you do it quick before the Mark 8 comes out. You'll probably get a last of the Mark 7s for quite a good deal.
That's what I was thinking. But, and then it's just standing there saying, yeah, but I kind of like the Jeep. And then it's, but you're not really doing a lot of off-roading. Yeah, but I know. So why wouldn't you? It's like, but I just like it.
Yeah, and it's always that sort of handing money over for something that you've already got that works perfectly well.
And as long as you can keep repairing it, and it's not something that is going to drive you to the bankruptcy. And most things these days are pretty reasonable repairs. So
I mean, I think that maybe there is a move like this happening now with vehicle manufacturers, but they're really missing a trick if they're not doing it. And I'm not aware of it if they are. so it's not being done very well. But with the way sort of the 18 to 25-year-olds of today are, and a little bit younger, sort of say 15 to 25, to market a car as you can own this car for this amount of money every month, and in 3 years' time, when there's a much more efficient and much better for the environment vehicle, you can just swap it.
Yeah.
Because that attitude of, well, I can just keep fixing it, that's right. But if you, for example, if you were to go and trade the Jeep in for a GTI, your carbon footprint would halve easily.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Easily.
And at some point, that's got us. I mean, what do we hear on
in terms of the use of the car? Anyway,
we're hearing more glacier shelves have broken off.
Yeah.
We're hearing Antarctica is actually got a rainy season now. What are we talking? Antarctica, it snows there. No, they got a rainy season. Global warming is here, and we're to blame for that. So
and it is interesting to see what would happen. I mean, in the UK about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I can't remember exactly, but there was what they called a scrappage scheme where the government would give £1,000, and the car dealerships would have to give £1,000 to anybody that had an old car. Okay, you could literally go and pick up a £50 scrap car from the local classifieds, take it into the car dealership, and they would give you $2,000 for it as a trade-in against a new vehicle.
That's a good.
And it was to get rid of old cars and to get new ones and kickstart the economy. So it must have been sort of after the 2008, so maybe 12 years ago.
Okay.
So that worked. That got a lot of new cars out there and got rid of a lot of old cars, and they were crushed. Like the government ran it, and they were, maybe they weren't, but they were supposed to have been crushed and cubed, and that was the end of them. So
no, they ended up in Iran or Ashman.
I'm sure somebody did well out of that deal. But at the end of it, it's like, well, okay, you've stopped that now, but why? Obviously, there's not a bottomless pit of money, but it makes so much sense to me. Now, obviously, for me as an independent garage, that's not great. If everyone's buying a new car every 2-3 years, I'm never going to see them because they've got warranty.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that. I should be able to service them with genuine parts and etc. But where we are with the monopolies and stuff, it doesn't exactly work like that.
Exactly.
But from a big picture perspective, if we were to look at it, they're really missing a trick. Why would you not want to be? Why are VW not in schools? Mercedes not in schools?
Yeah.
Getting kids to like be interested in cars, show to create a love of the car again, which their fathers, mothers, grandparents would have had. It was just sort of one of those things. Everybody knew a car nut on their street. Everyone had someone on their street that had 7 cars outside and was working on them all weekend.
Yeah.
And that was all, I think from growing up, I can think of all of my friends are the same on every single street. So, but that doesn't exist now because it's like cars are the enemy.
Yeah.
And I think if manufacturers actually got their message out there and explained to people, no, this is what we're doing to protect the environment, and every car that leaves the production line, we plant a tree in the rainforest, or whatever it is that they're doing. Volvo are making cars out of recycled plastic from the oceans and stuff like that. So if they got into schools and explained this and said, look, if you buy a car from us, if you learn or want to pass your test in one of our cars, it's this amount of money every month. And as soon as we have a car that's more efficient than that in the same spec, same model, we'll swap it. There's got to be some value there. There's so much recyclable on a car as well now. As long as it's kept to a certain standard. And if you as a manufacturer require them to hold that vehicle to a strict service schedule and make sure that it's well maintained and penalise for when it's late or penalise for damage that's caused by being lapse on a service, then I can't see who loses there. You ignite some love of what you're making again, and you find some skilled, brilliant children that can then come on and work as technicians, as designers, marketers.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got new cars being sold.
You know what I'd love to see in the podcast realm is, I remember when I was going to high school, we'd go to the library at lunchtime and we're getting road and track and cars, and we're looking at, and to this day, I was actually looking at some of the stuff by Brown Car Guy, Shazad Sheikh. If you're not following Brown Car Guy, he's got 1,000 subscribers to his YouTube channel. Just hit that. And he does reviews, and he does Shazad and Brown Car Guy, go check him out. He's awesome. And he did something on the Countach, the Lamborghini Countach, and I don't remember which one it was, but it was the white one and the one that's got zero visibility, and it's a monstrosity. But I remember in high school, that was the car. You're opening up road and track and you're going, oh, I want that. And you're sitting there and you're talking about, I remember we were just talking with friends about the standard cars in people's driveways, who's dad's driving the Buick, and who's got the LeSabre, and who's driving this, and oh yeah, that's a cool car. And I don't know if kids talk like that anymore.
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think it's more about who's got the biggest screen in there, and who's got a headrest in front of them with a screen in it, and how many channels can you have on for the radio. And
because I thought it would be really cool to have that podcast of the teenagers or the preteens who are walking around a showroom or walking around a parking garage and recording and saying, hey, let's take a look at this car. Oh, this is really cool. And let's have have a conversation about it.
The thing for me with,
it's a good idea. Someone should run with that idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. And the thing is, you've just got to expose people to the side of the message that you want them to see, right? You've got to art. The sort of most successful kind of influential art form of the last 25, 30 years has got to be marketing, advertising. There are millions and billions of dollars spent every year by individual brands just advertising and marketing their product. And vehicle manufacturers are no different, but they're going after the people buying the car.
Yeah, they're going after the wrong audience.
I think that's the wrong way around, because you've got a whole generation.
They're preaching to the choir instead of finding new.
You've got a whole generation who are now at school being taught about. I was taught about it in the 90s at primary school. I was taught about how, global warming was affecting the planet and how sea levels would rise. And where we live in the UK, we would have been sort of surrounded by mountains and hills, and we would have kind of survived it. But it was like the message. I remember our teacher, Mr. Mate, he was called. He explained it to us. We were like 10 or 11 years old. It's like sort of nightmare stuff when you're that age. But you also don't really appreciate what they're actually saying. But I remember him drawing on the blackboard with his chalk, like the map of the UK, and then rubbing it out and drawing where it would be when the sea's raised and the levels of the sea rise. Sorry, and then it stuck with me. But did I do anything about it? No, I just kept these things on the road for longer. But it always stuck with me. And if children were able to appreciate that, because it's true, it's a genuine, it's a scientifically proven fact that we have a problem with the environment because of man-made issues. If that's okay, but we can then appreciate how we can mitigate that and slow it down and then reverse it, just like we've done with the coronavirus. We tried to slow it down and then we've tried to reverse it. Now we try and get a vaccine and stop it completely. You can't jump too far ahead. You've got to go down the due process. And I just think that for me, if you could get children to understand how a car is born, like take them through the whole process. So there's a committee of 25, 30 men and women who will come up with the next car that we need. Or they'll come up with, okay, we need a small city car. There's a huge number of students that are now commuting because they can't afford student accommodation close to the university or whatever it may be. We need a city car for Parisian students, and how that process works, and then how they're made, and how manufacturers are going about saving on carbon and how they're offsetting it, and all the things that they're doing. You then have children that are inspired to learn about engineering, to learn about design, and everything that you need basically to prevent what I think, unfortunately, maybe have gone too far for some manufacturers to survive. But I mean, what is the point if it's a shared ownership sort of model on a car?
Yeah.
People like MG and Daewoo, and are they really going to survive? Like, what's the point? If you're going to share a car, you might as well share a Porsche.
No. I often wonder about that. I mean, I like the idea of a free market and having as many different manufacturers out there, except they're all doing the same thing and trying to undercut each other. Well, let's get quality of numbers. Let's bring the price down because we've got, 2 or 3 manufacturers. And hey, what's the end route anyway? A couple specialty guys who are doing stuff, but otherwise, I think the writing's on the wall. I think you're pretty clear. In fact, there's some great writing on the wall, and I fired this one up because I just thought it was classic. Chinese automakers have announced a plan to increase sales of hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, a niche segment in the world's biggest automotive market. And they want to be, they're looking at 2025, but they want to get by 2025, 10,000 of these vehicles out in China, which is a drop in the bucket. But they're partnering with Volkswagen, General Motors. They're going to trial it. And obviously this could be, if they can make the process work, which China's the place to try it. It's where our phones are made. It's where there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. Volkswagen, General Motors going, hey, we want in on this. Electric's great, but let's be honest, you got to generate the electricity, and this might be an option. Yeah. The one we know anyway.
China, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, is, like you said, the best place to do it because the manufacturing infrastructure there, due to sort of, it's obviously weighted towards industry. The regulations are weighted towards industry, and it makes cost of labour very, very low. It makes just putting up a new factory to produce a fuel cell not a problem because I'm going to employ 25,000 people from the township, no problem. Okay, done it, do it, no problem. And then the 10,000 is a lot though. It's not much for the Chinese market, obviously.
But that's a lot of cars.
But it's a lot of cars
by 2025.
Yeah.
That's by 2025. How they might surpass that. People might just kind of go, hey, this makes total sense. What's the byproduct? Water. And I can drink the water? Yeah. Well, this is a no-brainer. Yeah. Clean drinking water, that's a huge issue in the world right now. So now I've got fleets of vehicles that are actually generating. We could store it up, and now we've got drinking water for the house.
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy thought that it hasn't happened already. Stephen Hawking did a program about it years ago, and I vividly remember him talking about it. He was in a studio, and then there was one of his sort of roving scientist reporters at a waterfall in, I think it was somewhere maybe in Hawaii or something like that, where they were generating the hydrogen using an electrical field through the water, and it was then so efficient and so easy. Yeah. And then the byproduct of it is water, which you can then make more hydrogen from. It's like, I obviously nothing's for free. Of course, nothing's for free, but it's so much easier. It's so much easier. And we've said before, but I think for me, there's 3 massive benefits to it. I think the first one is that you can then make a universal fuel cell, just as you have a universal filler neck size for petrol or diesel, so that that you can go to any country in the world and fill with petrol, and it's the same size neck or gun,
nozzle,
whatever you want to call it. And you could do that with a fuel cell. So then you could just literally take the cell out, recharge it, but put a brand new one in, and there's no queuing. There's no wasting energy queuing for fuel.
Can you imagine?
What a ridiculous thing that is, that we sit there wasting fuel, waiting for fuel.
Well, and that's we've already got that mentality going, right? Because you got a barbecue, you've got natural gas, that your propane tanks, and around the world, and who owns their own propane tank anymore? Nobody. You simply go and trade it in and swap it out, and you pay a fee.
So much easier, and I don't see, because you cannot do that with batteries.
That's because right.
Even if you make them universal, they're going to be huge. But even if you did do something like that, you going in front of me with your 7-year-old car, I come in behind you with my 7 minutes old car that I've just taken from the showroom, and I get your battery.
Yeah. I don't want that. I don't want that thing.
So this is the first benefit for me. The second benefit for me is there's just so little infrastructure required.
Yeah.
You haven't got to change anything. You just got to change the diesel for now, diesel, petrol, maybe ethanol, whatever it is, and then there's the fuel cells, and that's it. You've not got to lay copper cables everywhere.
Yeah.
You've not got to put extra charging points everywhere. You haven't got to worry about things being left on charge overnight and causing fires. And then the third benefit, really, for me, is just the fact that there's so much less risk of, unfortunately, you have to say it, and it might sound like, being a little bit melodramatic, but there's such less risk of war over the raw materials involved. Where lithium's in countries in Africa,
it's coming. We've got food wars. We're going to have we've got water wars. We're going to have these raw material wars. I mean, this is why countries, and let's look at this just from an economic perspective. Why do you think China invests so heavily in Africa, where in some of these poorer countries, and they're going in and saying, hey, we're going to help you with infrastructure. We're going to help you with this. And we're going to fire a ton of money in, and in return, hey, we want access to your raw materials.
Your lithium.
Yeah. And
Cobalt,
they're kind of going, well, we're not using it, and we need roads, and we need housing, and we need hospitals. You know what? Let's strike a deal. And China's going, awesome. We're securing this, and then it comes to a point where you've got first world countries that need these products, and they're going, well, we know where to go get it in Africa. Oh, we can't, because they've already signed agreements with China, and they got it.
It's just such an unnecessary risk.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say that there isn't a place for battery powered electric vehicles, and who knows? I mean, look how big mobile phones used to be. Look how small they can be now. So who knows where the battery technology is going to go? Who knows? Right? Yeah. But the problem for me is there's so many more pros to the hydrogen. So many more pros to it.
I want to see the statistics on how much extra energy is needed for generation when you start adding in everything now that needs to be charged, and what kind of a drain is it putting on our electrical grid, and how much extra, it all depends on how you're generating electricity. Here we're using natural gas. Well, that's not clean generation. No. If you're using hydropower, and I always tell people at home will say, I got to go pay my hydro bill. And he goes, like, what do you mean you got to pay? Here we call it DIWA, because it's of the organization, but they burn fossil fuels to generate the electricity at home. There's nuclear, there's hydro, water power, and a little bit of coal in Canada. There's still some of that being burned here and there, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
If as soon as you've got, you're just robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Because you're generating all this electricity for all these electric things, but you're still throwing the carbon out there. So.
Yeah, and there's the production of the battery, and there's the putting the actual charging station, plural charging stations in position, maintenance on those.
Yeah,
it's really, and everybody does it with their mobile phone,
right? And
it's perfectly safe most of the time. But we're just going to leave them plugged in on charge overnight.
Yeah.
and they'll shut themselves down, and that's cool. But ultimately, why put all of that extra strain on the grid?
Yeah. Well, my other side of it is with electric vehicles and that, and it's great we're talking about it, and people are getting excited. Your electric vehicle will not last forever. You're eventually going to have to ditch the battery. We already know, with Duracells and Energizers, okay, I'm brand naming, and it's nothing against those companies. They do a great job, but people don't dispose of those batteries very well. No. There's all sorts of drop-off sites. How many people just throw them in the garbage? Yeah. Most people, mobile phone gets done, you dispose of it. Maybe you take it into a recycler. Maybe you just throw it in the trash. Again, the number of batteries that are in landfill that are leaching into the water supply, and they, it's horrible to think of.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what will happen over the next 5 years. I hope that this is the start of a huge shift. Yeah. And I think and I don't think it'll take long with VW and General Motors, the two of the biggest, if not the two biggest vehicle manufacturers as groups in the world, behind a partnership with the biggest manufacturing power in the world. I mean, if they cannot make it happen, then okay, hands up, it's not viable. But I can't see why. Excuse me, I can't see why it wouldn't be. Honda have been doing it for a while, and as far as I'm concerned, it's an absolute no-brainer. I'd love to sit and talk to experts about it and listen to the downsides and weigh them up against electric vehicles. But from what I understand and what I know and what I've read into it, it's a complete no-brainer. I really don't get it. The safe storage of hydrogen is one thing, right?
Yeah.
That's fine. I understand. It's an explosive gas, effectively, but petrol isn't safe.
Yeah, no.
And we have petrol vapors that will light at the easiest.
Yeah.
So, we manage with cars and we get people to the moon.
Yeah.
So I think we can probably make hydrogen safe in a car.
Staying on track of some cool vehicles, I actually posted this one too on our trusty WhatsApp because it was earlier today before I updated the site. And it's talking about the Hyundai 2022 Tucson. Yeah. And I looked at the pictures of this thing and it doesn't look like any Hyundai Tucson I've ever seen in my life. There's a word though. The Hyundai calls, so they're looking at this. The previous Hyundai compact sports ute went from soft and cuddly look to the new all angles and bulges. It kind of looks like a Lexus to me or something like that. And I love that they call the effect the parametric dynamic. And
Who came up with that one?
I don't know. And they say, even if that's a trifle pretentious, the company also says it's part of the sensuous sportiness design identity.
I mean, to me, sort of looking at it like this,
it's radically different.
It looks very sort of Peugeot and Infiniti.
You know what? That's exactly what it looks like to me. It looks like a Peugeot.
Yeah.
And, hey, good on you. I don't know if that makes Peugeot very happy, but
well, I mean, it's a weird. See, that car's going to sell anyway.
Oh, that's
because they're good cars, but
yeah.
It's.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. The look is one thing. It'll be interesting to see if there's anything new underneath. Although, you look at it. You know what it reminds me of, and I'm looking at the backside of it right now. If you haven't you got to go online. Go online to driving.ca is where I got this one, and it's the 2022 vehicle that we're looking at, the Tucson by Hyundai, and I'm looking at the back. Mitsubishi AS. Is it ASX? I think it's it's a Mitsubishi. It looks like a Mitsubishi ASX to me. Right there, it's done. It's like, I wonder if the Mitsubishi folks are working with them because it really does look like an ASX.
Who knows?
And the lighting is Peugeot. There's no question.
Yeah, the front of it really did strike me as
it's a Lexus.
Peugeot, yeah, but
the grille reminds me of a Lexus.
Yeah,
a little bit of an Audi, but for sure a Lexus. It's like, yeah.
And this is a bit unfortunate for Hyundai because, what do you do? You will always. It's very unusual, and it's going to be, I think, unfortunately unlikely that we would ever say, "Oh, that looks a bit like a Hyundai."
Yeah, no.
Unless we were talking about a new sort of startup Chinese vehicle or something like that.
Even then,
you'd always go to the big brands like we've done. Yeah. We've said it looks a little bit like a Lexus because
it looks a little. Okay, I threw the Mitsubishi in there, and hey, they've been around with their
big brand again.
But it's.
Yeah. I mean, it's I mean, do they just go for it and say, you know what, we're just going to be bold and try and do our own thing? Or do they always...
I think they're too scared. I think the automotive industry is way too conservative in general. They just...
got to make sure it sells. They can't be too crazy with it.
I sort of walk down the gauntlet in the morning looking at the different cars, and the one that always grabs my attention every time is the new Tahoes and the Ford Explorers. That... You know what? They all kind of look the same. They're just kind of square. At least Nissan with the Patrol has got a little bit of rounding, but now, like you said, ever since you said that, what have they done to it? And you kind of said it kind of looks like its cousin there.
Looks like the QX, doesn't it?
It does. And so now I'm looking at them going, it is a QX. Oh no, it's a Patrol.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of all that. And this isn't a Chrome thing.
No.
The Chrome's got its place on the on the QX because it distinguishes it as a premium one, right?
Yeah.
But there's too much chrome on the Patrol, which was typically the workhorse of the family, kind of. I don't know.
What I don't get is, and hey, don't get me wrong, I love a Ford Explorer. I love a Ford Expedition. I like them both, but they're so square. It's like, guys, it's the polar opposite to some of these other rounded vehicles. These things are shipping containers.
Yeah.
And I can never figure out why. Like, why are you doing this?
No, I've got a problem with like the land. I know you put in the notes about the Defender, but I got
the two-door. They got a two-door model coming. I can't figure it out either. And this is terrible. It's all complaints from me today.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I looked at it. And I thought, what's the plan here?
But the advert that keeps popping up, I don't know why I keep getting it, but the advert that keeps popping up for the Defender on my YouTube, whenever I'm watching or listening to anything on YouTube, it comes on, and it's like they do make it certainly look a lot sort of more rugged and tougher and, let's say, practical than it would seem to be just taking it, because as just looking at it, it just looks like it's plastic and it's not very tough, and it's
you know what happened to me when I looked at this picture of this new Defender, the two-door. I had to do a double take because I thought I at first I didn't see the write-up and I just saw the picture of it, and I said, "Is that an LR4?" I literally looked at it and I said, are they bringing back? And then I realized, oh no, they're not.
Yeah, it's got the shape, hasn't it?
It's got the shape, and it just doesn't go up as much. But to me, it was an LR4, and I said,
"Yeah, I like the idea of sticking with what you're known for."
Yeah,
like
absolutely
the new Discovery for me is too much of a removal from what they used to look like.
Yeah, it's done. It doesn't work for me.
And we've look, it's changed. We've got to accept it. It's changed, and it's going to go. In 40 years' time, there might be somebody sat doing a very similar thing, saying, "Oh, this new Defender's no good," because they like this one.
Yeah,
and the new Defender to them would be an issue, and it's, hey, who knows? Possibly this will, and it's, look, one thing we need to say here: it's going to sell.
Oh, guaranteed. Guaranteed.
By the bucket loads.
So where this really works is if you own an Evoque, or if you own an Evoque and you start moving up, you see the gradual trend moving through. Evoque to Velar, and then you go forward. This thing fits right in there. You say, I want something a little bit rugged, and maybe again I'm back in an Evoque, and I'm thinking I still want to stay in the brand. I want something a little. This fits perfectly.
Yeah. It has got the sort of premium Range Rover finish to it.
Yeah,
with the lights and with the wings and
the grille. It's Range Rover.
Yeah, I mean we should try and get up close and personal with one, because
we keep threatening to do this.
Being very shallow.
I think we keep threatening to do this, and I think we should just throw on the wireless mics and go sit in them in the showroom and just say, "What are you guys doing? We're just doing a radio show. Don't mind us podcasting here."
Yeah, we'll plug you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think we should do it.
Yeah, it'd be good. It would be good to have a fair opinion,
because all we're doing is looking at it and looking at the collaterals that have come out for it.
They put as much work into how it looks. That's what gets people through the door to buy one.
My thing is, how plastic is it going to be inside? And if it's just a big piece of plastic, it just drives me nuts.
I mean, the Defenders were just boxes before. They didn't really have anything in there. There was kind of a fan behind the dashboard blowing a little bit.
It was an uncomfortable box. I had the privilege of driving in one of those through Game Reserve, the Kruger Park, and it's a memory I won't forget.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
My opinion of the Defender was never high, but then when I came here, and I had to drive them a lot more often than I ever did in the UK.
Yeah,
not for me.
They look nice though. It's got that safari look.
Totally get
born free.
Totally get why people like them, and to be honest, they'll go anywhere. They're not going to get stuck in anything, and they'll go anywhere, and they do a job. But I think muddy fields and rock faces haven't changed, and this new Defender looks like an iPhone with wheels.
There you go. And this is the challenge. Yeah. And I always say this about a Nissan Patrol, and don't get me wrong, I love the Patrol, but you look at them, you want to take that thing off road? I don't think you do. It's like, really? I mean, you could, and it's raised and it's going to work.
It's got 20-inch alloys with low profile tires and ain't going anywhere.
Well, that was always a funny one. I had a friend who had an FJ Cruiser, and FJ is great, but it had it was a city one, low profile tires. You're not going off road with that thing. No. You're going to get stuck every time.
Yeah.
And you're going to wreck your tires. I mean, I'd say, well, let's just cut across it. Oh, no, I can't do that, man. It's going to wreck my rims. Well, what are you driving there?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't see, I mean, it's kind of what I was saying before. If are they going after the old Defender customer, or are they going for the new one?
I don't think they're going after the old Defender.
But then if you're going after the new customer, why would you buy it?
Yeah.
What?
I think it's a logical progression, and it kind of looks like the rest of the fleet right now. But I think the nostalgia customers are kind of have they bought up the old ones, and they're going to continue to sit there. And I don't think a nostalgia customer is going to go for a new one. But hey, I'm not the focus group, and I could be totally wrong.
And I'm broke, so they definitely didn't work. Yeah. They definitely didn't care about what I thought about the car, because I was never going to buy one anyway.
I guess you've also got a set of customers that maybe they're hoping to tap, that would be, I know the old ones were cool, and I know that they were rugged, and I know you could take them everywhere, but they were just horrible to be sitting in for any period of time, and the technology was awful. So now we've got the essence of the vehicle, and hey, this is your way to get into one of these things, and it's going to be more fuel efficient. It's got all the electronic goodies in it, and you could still take it off road because it still has the pedigree.
Yeah, like I say, the advert that I keep getting on all my sort of suggested ads is showing it pulling trucks out of mud, and we're talking articulated lorries here, like out of mud ruts, and it's obviously very capable, which we knew it was going to be. It's always the wheels that let all of the Land Rovers down, because they're designed for the city initially, and they're based on looks, but they're very, very, very good off-road. Yeah. Very, very capable. The 4x4 systems are really smart. So that's cool. But I just think that there should have been more of an effort as to, there's so many leaks these days. So this is another thing. There's so many leaks about how it's going to look like this. It's going to look like this. The new iPhone's going to have this on it, and the new Samsung's going to have this on it. And it's like, by the time the reveal comes around, you knew everything anyway. And all you're worried about is who was right and wrong in terms of the leakers. Yeah. So if they did sort of get ahead of it and build to it and say, look, the new Land Rover Defender will be here next year, and it's going to be made of a carbon composite body, and it's going to have this kind of finish, and this is why, and it's going to be this kind of engine, and this is the carbon output, and this is the fuel reading, the fuel consumption rating, and this is how we've done that, and this is why, and just sort of keep flicking pieces of information at the press and build up an anticipation for the car, and explain why it looks like it does, and why it rather than just say, here you go, there's a new Defender. Because then people like you and me, they've got absolutely no idea. Yeah. Just say, well, that doesn't look like the old one. It looks very plasticky, and it's probably not going to be any good, and I'm not interested. Whereas you hear about things like Teslas. Tesla are quite smart with that. They say, oh, this is what our car can do, and this is the way, and this is why. And it builds the anticipation, and it builds a bit of, I know you don't need awareness for a Land Rover necessarily, but if you're not going after the old Defender market, it's only a little bit bigger than an Evoque, I think, by the looks of it.
Yeah, we got to go kick the bumper of one of these things over to Altair, which is the franchise here in Dubai.
You can kick the bumper. I'll wait till you've been chased off by security, and then I'll get in and have a look around it. I'll try and take some pictures.
Yeah, I saw that last night, actually. A guy, so I was walking the dog, praying that he doesn't see a cat when I was really close to this car, because I not only was walking the dog, I was on a scooter. I wear a helmet though, and I had a light.
Okay.
But the dog's 100 pounds. And so if he sees a cat, you got to be aware that you got to get off the scooter and hold on tight. And this guy's walking around his car, and I don't know if it was a rental or what, but it was a serious, it was a Range Rover. And the guy's walking around showing all the black spots on the bumper on the corner. I'm just going, I can just see where this conversation is going. I wanted to stick around, but I had the dog because I thought this was going to be entertaining. And the guy was nitpicking on everything. And I was trying to figure out how you get those marks on the bumper anyway. But
yeah, that's because you keep kicking them as you walk past it.
Well, that's the thing. This is a great vehicle, but I'm worried now because of all the plastic and because of the way it's put together. One little stone chip comes up, and you're going to be up in arms because on the old version, a little stone chip, and
that was cool.
You're going, hey man, this is great.
Badge of honor.
Yeah, new one. No, now you're upset. Now I got to go get that buffed out.
Yeah. It's hey, we should just go and have a play around with one and see what we actually think. Having,
we keep saying this. I think we're going to have to schedule it in and just start doing some of these. We were doing them in car. We did a couple in cars. We prototyped the show. We got to start doing that again.
Yeah, we've got a format. Let's just go with it. Yeah. And see how many showrooms we can get barred from.
That's the key. We're going to go start over at MG. Gargash.
Yes. MG, welcome arms. They'll be like, oh yes, please come in. The automatic doors probably don't work on the showroom because they never get used. It's probably been locked for 4 months.
Oh man. See, we were going to win no friends when, the auto industry. And
I saw one of the big, it's the RX-8 thing, isn't it? I still can't understand how they got away with calling it the RX-8, but anyway. Yeah. I saw one on the road the other day, and it's a big car.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's a big car. They're obviously selling them. I wonder who's buying them.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Havels.
And you see a lot of those though.
And you see it, and you notice what they've done, kind of like a Range Rover, Land Rover. It's every time I see one, I go, "Oh, is that a Rover? Oh no, that's a Havel."
Yeah. I see
that's another showroom to go. We got to jump into the Havel room and take a look. Or the one that I see all the time over by the airport, the JMC dealer.
JMC, yeah. Well, if they do I don't.
We do El Nabuda and JMC at the same time.
Yeah.
Because we'll probably get kicked out of one faster than the other.
Get kicked out of the Buddha. they don't need us snooping around in there. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh, that's it then. So next week if we do that, it could be our last ever show.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, we got to get a plan going here. But on that note, Glenn, we didn't talk about it very much car repair, but we just talked about cars.
That's cool.
And you know what? It was a lot of fun as always. Glenn Power, PowerWorks Automotive. My name's James Pikeway. Podaholiks is what you're listening to. The PowerWorks podcast coming to you from the Rove Hotel, downtown Dubai's podcast studio. You want to get in touch with us? Really simple. Podaholiks with a K at gmail.com. Podaholiks with a K across the socials. And however you're listening to us, by all means, give us a rating, give us a comment. We want to hear it from you. Want to find out more? Head to Podaholiks. Hundreds of shows to listen to. Talk to you again soon.